It's been like 2 weeks since the announcement of Xenoblade X Definitive Edition and I still can't stop thinking about this game. It's gonna be a rough wait, but that's why YouTube exists. I still have many video ideas to talk about and keep the hype going, so I guess you should subscribe if you like to see more stuff. I think this is a new record of how fast I started chilling in a video. Anyways, this time I want to talk about possible retcons that in my opinion are most definitely going to happen to fit this game with the rest of the franchise. Also, this video will contain spoilers. For everything. Obviously. I don't think it's a secret that I 100% subscribe to the idea that it's connected in some way or another. I already put out important theory videos that you should definitely watch if you are interested in knowing how I think the game will try to connect into the timeline. But even taking a step away from the crazy theories and looking at the game's release objectively, without knowing how or what exactly the connections are going to be, it is obvious that this release is not a random throwaway release just to please X fans. In prior interviews, they said how difficult and expensive it would be to port X to the Switch. But we also had interviews prior acknowledging that they never saw X as a one and done game and that they would love to continue the story in the future. So there has to be a good reason it is now coming to the Switch. And if you played Future Redeemed, you might have noticed a ton of implications for X that me and many fans already pointed out. It was so obvious in fact that I already predicted that something X might be happening this or next year. In my honest opinion, Project Exodus from Future Redeemed and Project Exodus from Xenoblade X are literally the same event that connects X to the rest of the series. If you still want to believe that it is all coincidence and X will just be its own thing, then go ahead and come back after it releases and tell me how wrong me or you were. But maybe hear me out at first, because even though I said there need to be a lot of retcons to fit this into the timeline, there aren't as many as you might think. There's actually a ton of evidence that does not need to be retconned that suggests a connection already. A ton of inconsistencies about the alien war above Earth, the planet exploding and ships leaving Earth that somehow clash with the Klaus cutscene we all know already, are set up as a twist in the original release of Xenoblade X on the Wii U. So let's discuss what I think might be retconned and what I think does not need to be retconned at all. I've already done my like, subscribe and comment chill, so let's jump right in. First, I want to establish what many people consider major points against Xenoblade X connecting to the other mainline games and why I believe they don't necessarily need to be retconned at all. The most obvious one is literally the entire opening sequence. An alien war is happening above Earth, Earth blows up and we actually get a clear view of Earth and there's no orbital ring or space station in sight. In Xenoblade 2, the events play out completely different, and this is a major reason why so many people think it's impossible for them to be connected. In that game, there's a war going on, but it's against a rebel faction known as the Saviorites and not aliens. Earth doesn't blow up, it gets engulfed in light and then blows up, and there's no spaceships fleeing either. What if I told you these events in Xenoblade 2 are already a retcon itself though? In Xenoblade 1, when we get a look at Klaus at Galea before Klaus presses the button, the space station looks completely different from the inside and outside. The orbital ring is made out of light and there is no beanstalk whatsoever. There's also no conduit / Zoha inside. If you didn't know, Xenoblade 1 was never meant to be a Xeno game to begin with. It started as Monado, Beginning of the World, a project from Takahashi that was trying to be a fresh new beginning after Xenosaga had to be cut short due to various circumstances. Only thanks to Iwata, it was changed to Xenoblade in order to honor Takahashi's previous works. But Xenoblade became big, and Takahashi realized that he can finally tell the story he always wanted to tell. With Xenoblade 2, he saw the opportunity to create something bigger. Xenoblade 2 retroactively changed how the Klaus cutscene worked and what Alvis was without changing any already established lore in Xenoblade 1, and it just works. The transition into a much bigger and connected storyline only happened with Xenoblade 2 in 2017, but there was another game prior to that in 2015 on the Wii U. That's right, Xenoblade X. He did it once, and I bet it all, he plans on doing it again, retroactively changing what we thought we knew happened during the Klaus events. And he set all of that already up in Future Redeemed. Project Exodus was explicitly name-dropped with a ton of other revelations that connected to Xenosaga as well. This radio scene once again retroactively added new lore to this event. Now humans actually made ships to leave Earth and explore new places. Now it's actually more faithful to the X cutscene. But there are still a few puzzle pieces missing. Didn't Future Redeemed state that they built the ships just to explore space and not because some alien war? They were also already leaving the planet before any war. This is not a huge retcon to X lore as you might first imagine. The official story was that they were trying to flee the planet before it explodes, but Elma later reveals that these ships were more than that. They were basically created to take humanity to space and inhabit other planets. I mean, the literal title of the mission is called Earthlife Colonization Project. That sounds exactly like what Future Redeemed told us. It's also obvious that if Elma came to Earth many years beforehand and knew a war would happen, that they would start going to space as soon as possible and not all wait till the very end to escape. So this lines up, but what about the space station? We literally don't see anything in X. You probably think I will just say Takahashi can somehow retroactively add the space station and call it a day. But what if I told you that hints of the space station existing on this planet already exist within X? Yes, we don't see it in these shots because it is tilted at an angle that doesn't show the full planet, and the only time we get to see the whole planet is in this scene, and this is so far away that we still can't tell if it's there or not. But as I told you, the design of the thing was not even final at this point in time. The orbital ring might be so far away that it might not be visible, but watch closely what happens when the planet explodes. Did you see that? This explosion is not coming from Earth. It's a fixed distance above Earth, right where a space station would be located. The explosion looks completely different, but even in the Xenoblade 1 cutscene, the planet explodes in a white light and disappears from the universe. They might not even change the opening cutscene at all. It's already clear enough, and Elma might just retell what actually happened later on in more detail. They didn't bother updating the Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition cutscene after 2 was already out, but they gave Alvis his core crystal, so they might leave this cutscene unchanged and change some other aspects. Oh, I want to bring this up here as well, because I saw many people say that this video transition in the trailer makes it look more in line with what happened in Xenoblade 2, but this cutscene is literally in the middle of other important cutscenes, so I don't think it changes for Definitive Edition, it's just trailer editing. Even so, I think these cutscenes are fine as they are, because I ignored one final point to this discussion that changes everything. Lyn is the one retelling the story at the beginning of X, but she's also narrating the ending of the game. And what we hear at the beginning of the game is literally the version everyone has been taught in ULA by the coalition government. That includes lies like the lifeboat is holding human bodies in stasis, everyone had a fair chance of boarding the ship, and Elma is a human. These are not trivial lies and literally one of the main conflicts of the game. Not to mention that they are creating fake memories and place them onto mimiosomes that believe they are real humans like Yelf. To say that the government is shady is an understatement. It goes as far back as the radio cutscene in Future Redeemed, where they opposed a human rights protection bill. Point is, What can we really believe at this point? Elma literally came to Earth alone, knowing that there would be an alien war, just to save us, and we don't even know the reason why she did it in the first place. Ganglion and Ghost seem to be after humans intentionally, so this war above Earth was not a coincidence or anything. But here comes the main reason why the stories they told us might not hold up. Remember that I said Lynn narrates the ending as well? Well, after we beat the game, Elma promises to tell them the whole truth. Then we cut to the ending where we get a few clarifications on when Elma came to Earth and stuff, and Lynn literally ends her monologue by saying this.
But for now, the important thing is we're here, on Mira, and we're alive. And we'll live on, for now, with faith in our hearts that one day we can once again set out to search for the planet we left behind.
I literally had to fact check if this wasn't some kind of translation error, because how in the world would they go looking for the planet they left behind if it blew up? And to my surprise, in Japanese, it's actually made even more clear that she's talking about Earth specifically. Whatever Elma told them after they went back to New LA must have revealed that Earth blowing up is at the very least uncertain, or else Lynn wouldn't suggest that it would go back to search for Earth again. Do you see what I mean? Xenoblade X Definitive Edition can literally just put a new cutscene after beating the game and before the whole Black Knight story begins, of Elma just retroactively explaining what really happened back on Earth, and it would fit perfectly fine within the timeline without any changes to the prior cutscenes and dialogue. The game already set this twist up 9 years ago. This was all stuff that I personally don't consider retcons at all. They definitely would be put in a new perspective that retroactively changes how we view X, but they were all set up in the game already. Now let's talk about retcons that were not clearly set up. Stuff that needs to be changed for X to make sense in the timeline. As I explained, I believe that X was originally not planned to connect directly to the rest of the series, because Takahashi didn't even think about connecting them before 2 in the first place. Let's start with the aliens. There are two major problems here. If Takahashi knew he would tie in X after Future Redeemed, why didn't he mention any aliens in Future Redeemed? And by the time Xenosaga takes place, there should not even be any aliens in the galaxy left. I think the most obvious answer to the first question is that aliens don't attack until way after the events of the radio cutscene, and Takahashi plans this connection to be a twist in Xenoblade X Definitive Edition when it releases. And secondly, Xenosaga takes place 4,000 years after Earth was lost. That's enough time for humanity to wipe out all innocent aliens in the galaxy like the colonizers we are. So, retcon number 1 is recontextualizing what actually happened on Earth that day. Not only did the Saviorites attack the coalition government, but also an alien war took place above Earth. One doesn't exclude the other. The reason is completely unknown to us, but could have something to do with the Conduit/Zohar. The Saviorites could have used the opportunity of the alien war to attack the weakened government, or they found out about the shady selection process of Project Exodus, and this was their last attempt to rebel against them. Retcon number 2 has to be Earth didn't actually blow up, as Elma will tell us later. That part is not even a retcon yet. The few ECP officials that were awake during the escape saw the planet explode before their eyes and thought Earth must have been destroyed. But Elma points out that it looked like it was actually engulfed in light before it seemingly exploded, which seems strange and might suggest that Earth could have been sucked up into a different dimension. Elma is far more knowledgeable of interstellar travel and events than humans, seeing how she came from a different part of the galaxy known as the Clue System. This will be the reason why Lynn is hopeful of finding Earth one day at the end of the game. So far, so good. Now we have to explain fan service. Lynn's Monado pin, singular because she lost the other one, I can accept as just being a neat reference. Maybe she picked up on the design on Earth and Klaus from the Monado after what he remembers seeing on Earth as well, if you really want to go meta. Cosmos and Talos in Xenoblade 2 are also seemingly major contradictions to Saga, so we can let Lynn's pins slide in my honest opinion. What I can't let slide is Tatsu making several Xenoblade 1 references. He references Frontier Village and Hom-Homs directly, plus we see a Telethia that is important in the main story as well. So, possible retcon number 3. Most Nopon, including Tatsu and the Telethia, probably came to Mira via one of the rifts that opened up during Future Connected. It is established that the rifts only appeared because the worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2 were trying to merge together, but that does not exclude that these rifts might fling stuff into different dimensions or the original universe conveniently. For example, we saw multiple Telethia fly into a rift in Future Connected to close it, but this plot point never came up again and Telethia are not even a thing in Ionios. So there has to be more to this that we are not aware of right now. For this to work, we need retcon number 4 though. The white whale seemingly only drifted in space for 2 years before crashing into Mira. We are well aware that Mira is not a normal planet at this point, so we also don't exactly know how they actually got there, and also all the people on the ship are just data and the government controls memory manipulation, so who knows if they lied or not. But anyhow, if we believe what we have been told, it does not correlate to the time that passed in Xenoblade 1 and 2. In Xenoblade 2, millennia passed for Titans to evolve and create new humans, and in Xenoblade 1, Zanza reset the universe multiple times. For this stuff to work out, either the white whale drifted for millennia in space, or space-time dilation caused the events of Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 to happen at a way faster rate in our universe than in theirs. Remember that both worlds of Xenoblade 1 and 2 split into different pocket dimensions, so anything is possible really. 1000 years on All Rest could only be 1 year in our universe. Another possibility is that during the experiment when Klaus pressed the button, the white whale was sucked into a different dimension as well, but I'm just throwing out ideas at this point. Honestly, this is the biggest crackpot retcon that I can't explain, but to be brutally honest, I could just see them labeling these as Easter eggs. They don't have any lore implications, just like Cosmos in Xenoblade 2. Literally, the only connection to the rest of the series might just be the events on Earth that day, and Xenoblade X just tells a completely separate story of human survivors, and it never intertwines with the other Xenoblade games again. I would totally be okay with that. We don't need ultra complicated lore that spans over 4 games that people need to play to understand what's going on in Xenoblade 4. The connection at the Klaus experiment is more than enough to make this game important in its own way and lets the game have the freedom to do something completely different. No, Malus is the Black Knight and Origin is involved in Mira's secrets shenanigans. Even though Takashi was very secretive about what happened to Malus after Xenoblade 3. Okay, that's all for today folks. I really want to know what you think. I'm so confident in my Klaus connection that I made several videos about this already. But do you believe me? After watching this video, did I convince you? Or maybe you are still in the belief that Xenoblade X literally has nothing to do with the rest of the series and it's just a spin-off? And more importantly, do you think it will tie into more Xenoblade lore than just the Klaus experiment, or will it be a split story branch with its own story? What do you think and what do you want? Tell me in the comments, and while you scroll down, hit the like button on your way. It helps a lot. Also subscribe. Do it for Nia.